Hi, Steve Stahlberg here with monthly painting video number 76, made in Kuala Lumpur, April 2020. And this month it's back to the pin-up game again. A warrior girl with an automatic rifle wading through jungle. About the pose, I want to say a few things about the pose. It's very important to me to try to avoid those cliche classic pin-up poses that everybody thinks of when you say the word pin-up, you know, from the 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever. It's a classic pin-up pose has it kind of breaks the fourth wall. It breaks the suspension of disbelief a little bit for me. It's they make no sense also, and they're boring. They're obviously staged for an invisible audience, and the key word there is obviously. I mean, it's always staged for an invisible audience. That's us, the audience. But if it's too obvious, you know, of course all my pinups are staged too, but I try to make it less obvious. You know, the internal logic of the story told by the image usually says no one is watching. Like a girl dressed as a pirate, she should be doing piratey things, you know, or everyday things that a pirate would do, not posing for a camera that hasn't even been invented yet in the time of the pirates. Just an example. So I try to make the poses accidental, unintentional. I try to make them look like that. Like in ingenue, she doesn't know what she's doing. She doesn't know how good that looks. From a certain angle, she's just doing it because it's a natural consequence of the situation, whatever the situation is. In this case, she's wading across a river. I think this pinup is a good example to try to explain that. She's wading through deep water, holding a rifle over her head, because if she gets the rifle wet, it could jam and she could die. You know, this is the things that soldiers do automatically, but even without thinking. She's walking slowly, leaning back as if she's feeling her way along with the invisible bottom with her feet. You know, she can't risk stumbling and falling, you know. That will get their rifle wet. You know, there's a snake swimming past, which you'll see later, in front of her. At first I had her looking down at the snake, as you can see here. But later you'll see I changed the face and made her look into the camera. The head is gonna still be tilted down a bit, but her eyes are gonna just look straight into the camera, which is a trade-off. I know it's less in the moment. It's a little bit more staged, but it makes a better. In many cases, you have to do that because it makes a better connection to the viewer. Oh, and also about the light. You see here, I've already started to create the light here. I do have a favorite lighting situation, and this is basically it. You know, contre-jour. That's French for against light. You know, in Swedish we say mot ljus. That's the main light is coming. In this case, it's the sun. Is coming from the opposite of the subject, slightly angled towards us, the viewer, the camera, with some bounce light happening, you know, enough to not have completely black everywhere. The sun isn't shining, so you have to balance the dark side of the skin to the light side of the skin, you know. In the case of pinups, you know, you need to see most of the model, most of the person. In the case of pinups, you can't just leave 80% of it, you know, invisible. I mean, you can but then it's not a pin-up anymore, you know, not really. Then it becomes more arty. Yeah, you can see here I'm adding some cool fill light, which is cooler, you know, more bluish than the rest of her skin. And let's see, check my notes here. I also already added the camo, the camouflage paint that she's painted on her own skin. I could have had that on a separate layer. Can sometimes make things much easier, but in this case I didn't bother. And I'm focusing on this face, but this is wasted effort basically because I redid the whole face later. But yeah, that's just something you have to do sometimes. You have to just paint over your. You just have to go back to the beginning and start over sometimes. Um, and that's the headband. I I kind of have a headband there because she has short hair here, but she has longer hair later, so it makes more sense later. But you know, even a headband serves to direct the sweat away from your eyes, which can sting a lot. I live in a tropical country or subtropical or whatever you call it. It's just very hot and humid here, and I'm out running a lot, and very often I need to have a rag with me in my hand because the sweat is just pouring straight down into your eyeballs. It is not a pleasant sensation. And in her case, as a soldier, it can make the difference between life and death, I guess. And yeah, the water. She's pushing this water forward with her stride. She's moving forward, so there is some turbulence here. Let's see, checking my notes again. Yeah, it's this part is important here, and it's important to get it, photorealistically exact here, and so you need to have a good photographic reference. Now I can't show all my photographic references here because I don't have copyright to them, and I don't know how it would expose me to lawsuits if I put them in my video, but I'm not gonna. So if you're wondering how I can use them without copyright, it's because I only use small pieces of each photo in my finished piece, and I change them anyway. I merge everything together into a whole, and in that process I changed it a lot. So it's for this one piece I am using, again as usual, multiple pieces of photographic reference. And like the belt and the face is going to be a separate one because I redid the face. The top of the body is one, the lower half of the body is one, the water is one, the snake is one, so there is a whole, and of course the rifle is another one. So there's a whole bunch of references going into this one, and there is no chance in hell that anybody can sue me for the finished product. But if I showed it in the video, I don't know, maybe not. Now I'm redoing the face like I mentioned before, using a different piece of reference. I wasn't happy with that face at all, and you can probably understand why. It wasn't very nice, it wasn't very good, so it just wasn't working. And by the way, I just mentioned I roughed in the snake down there. I didn't finish the snake, I just roughed it in, and I'm actually not going to finish the snake. You're going to see I'm going to use a little trick on the snake later. But I'm still keeping the headband, which I was talking about before. Went off on a tangent about the sweat there. And in her case, it actually does even more service. I mean, it works to keep her hair away from her eyes, because this particular head has much more hair than the other one had. So yeah, and again, you can see there's some bounce light. Her face is mostly in shadow, but there's some light bouncing from, I would guess, the water. There's something in front of her that bounces light, and on such a strong sunny day with strong sun, there's light bouncing everywhere. And water is a reflective surface, so, or maybe there's even something. Maybe it's the opposite shore that's bouncing the light into her face. I don't know. I don't really care that much. I just needed that bounce light. I need the specific lighting situation, and so I try to keep it believable. I try to anchor it in the environment that I'm painting around her. As you can see, the sunlight is coming down through the branches behind her. I'll refine that a bit later. And here I'm still refining the face a little bit. Making her chin a little bit smaller. Got a bit big there. And yeah. from here I didn't refine the face that much more, just a little bit more, just refining the bridge of the nose later and scaling it up a bit, yeah, which is easy when it's on a separate layer. That's how I like to use layers, as I said before. I'm refining the backpack a little bit, adding a water bottle. Again, this was another completely separate photographic reference piece, just for the water bottle. And it's easy. You just got to Google for the right thing. You just got to use the right search terms. In this case, I think the search terms I used was for backpackers or something like that. Backpack, hike. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, something like that. And then adding more detail. I just I just note that there's a lot of straps and details that maybe you don't think about if you don't look at a photo, but I've never really gone backpacking much myself, so I didn't have that knowledge, but that's why I use photographic reference to gain the knowledge. And this is some sun rays in the back here, and the first layer there is too simple, so you gotta complex it up a little bit here, complicate it a little bit, complicate it a bit here. This is the sun coming through many tiny holes in the leaf, in the tree cover. So the rays need to be, you need to have some variation, some striations in the rays like that. And now here I'm adding a branch behind her on its own level, on its own layer, of course, as usual, just to keep it modifiable later, keeping things flexible. And it's just, I started off by selections only, and then after I've taken that as far as it can go, then I get rid of the selection, and here I'm using a leafy kind of brush. Like it's a brush textured with leaves, designed to rotate. It rotates and randomizes the size and coloring. I try not to use that too much. You see how I'm sort of fading it into the background a lot, because that particular brush will, you will instantly see, like, oh, he's using that stupid. The same brush I've seen him use many times before. You recognize the brush after a while if you use it too heavily. It'll just look like all the leaves are cloned from each other everywhere. And then a bit of streak from the smudge brush, which has a lot of streakiness built into its stamp. It's the texture of the smudge brush is very streaky, and of course it creates a very streaky smudge when you use it like that. Like I've described before in other videos, it's the same as you can see here. In the beginning I used a paintbrush which has the exact same streaky texture applied to it. So those two together, you can see some evidence of the streaky paintbrush here. It's just a bunch of dots that create these streaks when you pull it across. So yeah, those two brushes together, I've noticed, make a very painterly feeling. Here again, I'm applying some. I'm using a photo reference again, just one single photo reference, just for this, just to get those hairs right. And I'm not copying the photo reference completely. I'm just using it as a measure of, okay, roughly how much of these loose flying hairs do I need to put, and how thin should they be, and how it's. I could probably do that particular thing without photo reference, but it's just good since it's available. Call it up, use it as a reminder of what that kind of hair looks like in light. And here you can see I blurred the snake. That is the trick I was mentioning earlier. I just realized I don't need to detail that snake because the snake is not the focus. Here I'm enlarging her, the upper half of her, and fixing some errors that I introduced that way by doing that edit. Yeah, there's a lot of fixing happening at the end too, where you make mistakes and stuff. And now I'm adding the sweat or moisture, whatever it is, water, moisture, sweat. Maybe it was raining before, or maybe it's just very hot and humid here. And so what we need is a slightly darker outline, and then a slightly lighter point inside on each one of these droplets. And that's the quick way to do it that you see there. Use selection and you know, 2 layers, one darker layer and then one layer with a smaller selection for the lighter part. And some of them, the ones that are being hit by direct sunlight, brighter. Adding a few more. This is a special brush that's just called splatter. It just puts you know, randomized position or randomized size of spots of paint like that. And then adding a little bit of reflective, how should I say, wetness, like just the skin is wet, so it needs to reflect a little bit, but I don't want to go too far over the top with this. A little bit here in the armpit, you can see, and I think I'm going to put some on the abdomen here at the edge as well. Yeah, in the belly button, yeah. Adding a little mascot there. And if you get the PSD, you can have a look how I did the sweat drops. You can have a closer look at that. And that's it. That's the finished version. I'm looking over it, trying to see if I can find something that I changed from the penultimate version that we just saw, but no. You see how I did the background very simple here, you know, trying to keep it simple. And that thing about the snake, yeah, this is just meant to be photographic blur. Okay, thanks for your support, and see you next month.